What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Standing Room Only podcast, episode number 33. We actually have a lot of sports news this week to talk about, which is great. Always love to see that. Sports are starting to come back a little bit. July is tomorrow. You know what that means? It is the month that baseball returns and basketball. We'll have to see if it fully happens, but we're hopeful for now. If you guys don't follow the social medias for the podcast, we are SR Only Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Also, if you guys do enjoy the podcast, make sure you hit that download button. It's the best way to show support. It's the only way that we could track our analytics. So we're always trying to see every week how many people listen to the podcast. So make sure to download the episode. Figure that out. You can follow our individual pages. Myself, The Healy 6, and you can follow Goose.
I am iGoose with 4 O's. As always, don't ask why. Welcome back, everybody. If it's your first time, welcome in. As Healy said, make sure you hit that download button. That is how we are seeing our views, is through downloads. And of course, if you're on YouTube, you can always watch us on YouTube. As Healy said, it is July tomorrow. Sports are starting up. There's more sports news, which is great during COVID. Baseball, basketball, and football. Actually, we have 3 sports
The
full of news right
trifecta.
now. Yeah, the trifecta, which we haven't had in a while. I mean, we kind of dipped in our toes in here and there, but today is the day. I think what are we going to start with? Baseball today? I mean, there's a bunch of baseball news.
Now, we're going to start off with the biggest news of them all right now. Cam Newton to the New England Patriots.
He's a Patriot. Bill Belichick, Cam Newton. Will they make that duo work the same way that duo worked with Tom Brady? I say yes, it will.
Yeah, Belichick he'll get this. Like, the system might be different compared to what Brady did because Newton still has some legs. He's a little more athletic. He might not be as accurate with the passes, so their scheme will change. But it's Bill Belichick. He is a mastermind. He will adjust to the Cam Newton scheme. They already have the offense built for him. This is probably his best offense that he's played with in a long time.
In almost ever. They've always had a solid defense on the Panthers, right? Which was always good, complemented the offense a little bit. The offense was never really there. I know that they have Christian McCaffrey now. They have some other talented receivers, but nobody that really was a star-studded athlete to pair up with Cam Newton. And I know the Patriots they're not full of Pro Bowlers. They do have great players, but as you said, Belichick is a mastermind. They've done it before with quarterbacks that have stepped into play when Brady was either hurt or whatever the case, and those quarterbacks shined. They went off to get huge contracts. Matt Castle, for instance. There's been other quarterbacks. There's probably 2 or 3 that I can't even think of
Jimmy
off the top of my
Garoppolo,
head. Yeah, Jimmy G with the 49ers.
Jacoby Brissett.
Um, Brissett with the Colts. And these are guys who are, I would say, good quarterbacks, but as far as talent goes, and still, I wouldn't say he's in his prime, but I wouldn't say he's too far off from his prime. But Cam Newton definitely has the tangibles to go out there and I think to help amplify that team and maybe give him a push in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's 31. People might think he's like over the hill. He's not. He's been hurt, and also the team he's been with has been garbage. The O-line, like, he did have McCaffrey, but he hasn't had wide receivers. Greg Olson's been hurt. There's just been no one there for him. And now he's going to the Patriots, who had one of the best defenses last year. Maybe they turn it into like a Lamar Jackson scheme. That could work.
That's going to be the big question. Everybody, especially going into the fantasy season, going into fantasy drafts, at what round? It's not going to be an early round pick. He hasn't been. Quarterbacks generally aren't, unless you're a Pat Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson. Is he going to run the ball? That's going to be the big question. I think him being as experienced as he is, will probably be a pocket passer. But he was hurt last year. He didn't play all last season. How hurt was he? We don't really know because it sounded like they wanted him out of Carolina. He wanted out of Carolina. It was just all just going downhill. He didn't play. And maybe he's healthier than what we give him credit for. And maybe, it's not like he lost his legs. He was a very talented running quarterback. He can run, he can throw on the run too. So it'd be interesting to see what Cam Newton brings to the table. And more interesting to see how Belichick actually plays with him.
Yeah. Something funny that I noticed today. I don't know if you guys have followed Cam Newton on social media before, but he always had weird text. It seemed like he needed to go out of his way to put like different characters for everything.
Yep.
And it was always that. His first post as a Patriot was normal font, normal text, and people are like, "Oh, Belichick's already got into him."
That's hilarious. I have noticed that too. He posted one of his captions was about how he types his captions. So that's kind of funny. I did not see that post yet.
Yeah. So he did that, which I don't know if Bill Belichick went to him and was like, just you look stupid. Just like be professional and let's get to business. Or it was like a business standpoint type of message, and then he'll go back to whatever he typed. But Julian Edelman as well posted a photo today with like Cam Newton in it, and he did like the weird characters and stuff because that's how he types stuff. And Tom Brady actually commented on the post and said, "I'll always be your number one."
I did see that. I did see that. That was hilarious. I mean, that is Tom Brady's like good friend. They were been the duo, one of the top duos for a while. I think it's kind of funny that Tom Brady's taking a jab.
Mm-hmm.
He's not necessarily taking a jab at Cam Newton, but he kind of is by saying that.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about that whole situation is the contract and the amount of money that Cam Newton's getting. The potential money, with the incentive deal, it's up to 7.5 million for 1 year, which I know a lot of people are like, well, 7 million is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It is,
Not really for a
but
quarterback.
not for a quarterback, not for a quarterback to lead a team like the Patriots. That's a winning franchise. I'm sure there's incentives. Get to the playoffs, you'll get this. Get to the Super Bowl, you'll get that. And that's how it is with contracts. We don't see that. But 7 mil, and I believe it was Richard Sherman made a comment saying that's horrible. Like, how is there quarterbacks out there that are making 14-15 million dollars?
Nick
Some
Foles.
quarterbacks making, yeah, Nick Foles. That's another conversation we're gonna have. Other quarterbacks coming off the bench making more than that. And as you mentioned, Nick Foles. The Bears did not pursue Cam Newton, and it makes you wonder. I know you're wondering as a Chicago fan, like, why wouldn't we pursue him? Or
Yeah.
is there something, was there a disconnect?
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, don't get me wrong, Nick Foles he's a Super Bowl MVP. He's good when he wants to be, which is kind of weird. Like
Yeah.
he was horrible with Jacksonville and other, and but Cam Newton has it all. Minus injuries. Maybe it's the injuries. Maybe they saw last year he didn't play all season. He's had a bum shoulder. Maybe it's the injuries. But as a Bears fan, I mean, do you not question what they're trying to attain there? Because they still have Trubisky, who I would consider as talented as Nick Foles.
Yeah. I don't understand the decision. I don't know why Cam Newton didn't get picked up earlier. I think one of the reasons why they ended up getting Foles, though, they did restructure his contract. So, like, if he doesn't perform well this year, they can get rid of him. I think he is taking less money right now. And I think in the long run, if they wanted, maybe Cam Newton before was asking for millions of dollars in multiple years, and teams just weren't ready to commit. And the Bears were like, we don't know. Like, he was injured last year. Who knows how well he's going to perform? let's just we have an easy trade. Let's get Nick Foles, and if Trubisky plays well, we'll keep him. If Foles plays well, we'll keep him. And it could have been possible that Nick Foles got offered by the Patriots and was like, "This is the team. I'll take a 1-year deal because like let me prove myself. Let me try and run this awesome team." And maybe he mentally was just like, "All right, I'll take a little less money to see what I can do with this team. 'Cause if he plays well, he could be their quarterback for the next 5 years or so."
You're talking about Cam Newton, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what? That's a good factor there too. Is that he's getting money this year, and if he does well, that's going on his resume. That I mean, he's guaranteed almost. Well, unless he has a horrible season or he has a horrible injury, knock on wood. Hopefully, he doesn't get hurt. He's fun to watch. But yeah, this year is basically he's playing for the rest of his career. He's 31, right?
yeah,
So give him another 5 or 6 solid years, depending on when grandfather time hits him, and then or father time hits him, and then you want to look at the team that he's with. I think that's a huge opportunity because he's been in the Super Bowl, but he has not won a Super Bowl.
yeah.
As
And
a matter of fact, he got dominated in a Super Bowl.
he was an MVP.
And he was an MVP. He was an MVP that year. That he had his statistics are not. He has had. I don't count last year. He's had one season that was a very questionable season. He only threw like 19 touchdowns and he had like 12 or 13 interceptions. So that ratio was kind of not so hot. And I think that might have been the year after his MVP season. And so a lot of people look at Cam Newton and they, I mean, you can compare it for fantasy purposes even. A lot of people will pass on him because they're like, well, that offense just doesn't have it. And so I think the biggest factor is the fact that he has Bill Belichick and this Patriots offense. He has Julian Edelman, um, and he's got some other talented receivers there. Obviously, we just don't know who's going to do what on any given Sunday in a Patriots uniform.
Yeah, yeah. It was the year after he won the MVP at 19 touchdowns.
Yeah, so it's
That team ended up being pretty bad the year. They went 6 and
yeah,
10 because they
yeah,
lost a lot of guys for making the Super Bowl.
yep, Super Bowl hangover. It's real. It's definitely real, and that team was one of the worst to experience it. Um, he bounced back. He ended up having some good years after that, and I think he just had to get out of there. And there was always talks. He was on the trade block. I'm pretty sure last year or maybe the year before.
Yeah.
Because there's always rumors in Chicago. Anybody goes on the trade block, the Bears are looking to get him apparently, which
Hmm.
obviously isn't the case. So uh, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he does. Obviously, in that division, they're still one of the considering their defense is still good. I would say they're still the team to beat in that
Yeah.
division.
And speaking of the Patriots, I saw on Twitter, I can't remember what reporter like commented on it, but there was a tweet with the scheduling. The Patriots, Ravens, and Chiefs all play each other. So there's going to be 3 games this season that could potentially be the 1 seed game. Like you got to remember, only 1 seed gets a bye this year. So you're going to see, I can't remember who's at where, but you're going to have 3 great games to watch this year between the Ravens and Chiefs, the Ravens and Patriots, and then the Patriots and the Chiefs. I'm excited.
That's huge, and they're all probably going to be primetime games. It's going to
Well,
be all eyes on the Patriots right now. I think this right now, and I know Brady's up there. He's 40 plus, right? This right now, this season, this immediate season is going to tell the story on how good Belichick really is.
mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to it. And honestly, I would say without Brady, the Patriots match up pretty damn well with those other two teams.
Yeah.
Do I still think the Chiefs and the Ravens should edge them out? Yeah, they probably should win by, it's probably going to
Mm-hmm.
be like a 5-point spread,
Yeah.
whatever that's going to be. Um, But I think that this is definitely going to be the deciding factor for whenever that documentary comes out, that dynasty documentary,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the title is going to be. They're like, Brady's going to say, "Hey, I took my Bucks to the playoffs and you guys didn't go," or Belichick's going to say, "Hey, you and Gronk were screwing off in Tampa, and guess what?
We won
I'm
the
sitting
Super
here
Bowl.
with I won another Super Bowl." Yeah, so we'll see.
Oh man. I don't know if there's any other NFL news, but yeah, big signing with Cam Newton. Said before, I'm surprised that he lasted so long. Patriots, man, they just know what to do. Speaking of the NFL, kind of like a side note, I think the Patriots leaked this news because they knew what was coming. I don't know if you saw, but their 2020 TV crew can't film any of their games this year. The Patriots got fined $1.1 million. They lost a third round pick next year, and their TV crew from last year can't film games this year
Why?
because last year they recorded or they went and filmed the Bengals versus Browns game.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Wow, so they got that's huge.
the Patriots, man, they're schemers because you didn't know about that because the Cam Newton news got released about 1 hour, maybe even 30 minutes before the fines and stuff came out.
And social media is gonna eat up the fact that Cam Newton
Yeah,
got signed by the
yep,
Patriots.
yeah,
That's that's strategic. That's smart.
yeah, and all the other stuff got pushed under the rug. So yeah, no third round pick for the Patriots next year, which okay, cool. It is the third, which could turn out to be getting fined like that bad for it. It's not too big of.
And everybody's always wondering, like, or not always, but the questions were, well, why would they do this to the Bengals? And why would they get caught cheating? How do you get caught? It's the Bengals and Browns. And it's a matter of they got caught this time. We don't
Yeah,
know. They've had a history. The Jets with
yeah,
the Spygate, they scheme things up, and I don't want to say compare them to the Astros because that's a whole different that's a whole different level that the Astros took as far
yeah.
as cheating. But it's cheating nonetheless.
Hmm.
There's no need to do it, no matter if the team is 2-14 or whatever it may be. Um,
I think from what I saw, it was the film crew was doing that to get B-roll footage for like a documentary, like for the season. I don't know the exact details. I saw that, but also at the same time, if you don't remember last year, the Patriots needed a win to get the bye, and the team that they played was the Bengals in that last, which they should have beat easily, but yeah, they did get caught. I don't know the full story. I don't really care too much. It didn't matter in in that sense to begin with. Just had to point that out. The timing
that's
of everything.
interesting. That's funny that you put. Yeah, I had no idea. All I saw was what was on social media, which
Hmm.
obviously is Cam Newton.
Yeah, moving over to baseball now. MLB season has been like announced. We talked about that. The schedules for the year. I don't know if everything is finalized with scheduling, but I know opening day is going to be like July 23rd. And one of the matchups, Yankees Nationals. Garrett Cole versus the Nationals. You don't have Anthony Rendon on the Nationals anymore, but Max Scherzer versus Garrett Cole, kind of a World Series rematch. I can't remember if it's in Yankee Stadium or not, but for scheduling, it's 60 games. 40 games are against your divisional opponents. So you're going to be playing 10 games apiece for your division. And then the final or the other 20 games are going to be against the opposite leagues division. So the NL East will play the AL East and so on. So they'll play like 5 games versus each of the opposite leagues division.
I
So
like that. We
yeah,
get to see Cub Sox more than the 4 times that they play
it'll be
normally.
5, but
Hey, I'll take it. I'll
yeah.
take it. So yeah, so it sounds like they're doing regional. They're gonna try to limit the traveling as much as they can, especially with COVID. Especially now, there was a spike. Athletes across the board are testing positive. Some athletes are sitting out for MLB
Mhm.
right now. I think I saw Ryan Zimmerman was like the latest player.
Yeah.
Ian Desmond. There's multiple reasons with Ian Desmond. But as far as baseball, that starts end of July, July 23rd,
Yeah,
right?
July
July.
23rd and 24th is gonna be like
So and
opening days.
yep, and so 60 games, as we talked about before. Playoffs is going to be the same format. So the only difference is, no, there's no difference. There's going to be a wild card game,
Mhm.
right? So there's going to be the one game playoff, and then it'll go from there. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. If I read it correctly, there's DH now in the NL for
Yes.
this season.
Yeah, there's gonna be DH this season, as well as starting in the 10th inning, there's gonna be a runner on second base.
Yep,
Start it
I read
off.
that too. I I get it. I get the rule. Um, it's weird to me. I get it, you want to speed up the game. I just, it's gonna speed it up almost too much, I feel like.
I think it's for a different purpose. I think it's so that because I don't like in the past with super long games, the next day there's call ups and stuff because you got to get a fresh arm on the team because you used all your guys. I think they want to keep the teams as like not have as many changes as possible. So one of the reasons would to prevent those call ups, call downs, or send downs, and prevent people from coming in and out with the whole coronavirus
That makes
in that
sense.
sense.
Okay.
And I think they're trying to just make sure all the games get played. And with this condensed schedule, it'll be like 60 games. I don't know how much different it is compared to a regular, like 162 with days off. But I think it's going to be a little condensed and they don't want people too worn down pitching wise and like fatigue.
Yeah,
I'm fine
so
with it.
basically, yeah, no 15 inning games. Maybe we still might get some like that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean that's gonna force teams to think strategically on who they're gonna put on the mound, and because every game's gonna count. I
Yeah.
mean, it's only 60 games. Um, especially with some teams who, I mean, like you said, the Yankees have Garrett Cole, and they already have the offense, whatever it may be. So now it's like, okay, the offensive side of things, you don't have to worry too much. I mean, it's baseball. I mean, sure, field, those types of players do get worn down. Pitchers that pitch count,
Hmm.
and like you said, it's the safety of everybody, and that's part of the reason why a lot of people are questioning it in the first place. Is
Yeah.
why are we going to force a season? But obviously, it's a business, and they want to. There's multiple reasons as to why it's going to happen.
Hmm. I think it's only going to last for the 2020 season. It's kind of just like a temporary rule because of like what I
Yeah,
mentioned with like making sure rosters the same and everything. So I don't mind it for the 2020 season. It's already going to be weird with the 60 games. The DH though, I think will stick around, which will be cool. It's going to be very weird watching NL games with DHs. Oh, it's going to be weird. Like watching the Cubs versus Cardinals with a DH. I can already like picture myself watching the
baseball.
game and being like, this feels odd. But
Yeah, and
it's gonna be the norm.
it is going to be exactly. It's going to be weird at first, especially us being from Chicago. You see the Wrigley backdrop, you see the brick, right? You always know. You're like, oh shit, is there a pitcher due up this inning? And
Yeah.
now you don't even have to worry about that. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's, oh, we're gonna throw Schwarber at DH, and now you're gonna have 9 batters, no pitchers. It's gonna be. I think it's a good idea to at least test the waters. AL's been doing it, and I know that's what made the NL versus AL like unique,
Yeah.
especially with interleague play. But I mean, let's face it. It's been long overdue. It's been a topic of conversation for I don't know how many years now. Um, it's gonna make it fun. It's gonna make it interesting. There's no easy out. Not that all pitchers are an easy out, but there's no quote unquote easy out anymore. So potentially more runs, potentially more strategical planning as far as pitching goes.
Hmm.
We've seen it in the AL. We'll see what happens in the end. I'm excited. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
and less pitching injuries.
Yeah,
That was a
they don't
big
have to.
thing.
Yeah, no sacrifice plays, no running.
Hmm.
I mean, it. You know, it does suck because there are pitchers out there who like to swing the bat who actually are not bad at it. But they have their job, and that's to just go out and pitch. Shut up
Yeah,
and pitch, right?
yeah. Going back to like the extra inning rules, it's kind of like college football in a sense with overtime. I was thinking about this earlier, where you know how easy it is to score like college football, it goes back and forth. And then the final person or like the whatever team doesn't go first, if the second team ends up scoring more points than they did, it should be super easy for both teams to score every inning. So it could make it exciting. Both teams get a runner on second. Both teams have 3 outs to work with. Technically, if they wanted to do it correctly, they could try to bunt him over to third, have 1 out, and then try to get him home with some sort. But I kind of related it to college football in a sense with like how easy it is to score, and it's just the first team to mess up.
That's what it's gonna come down to. There's gonna be a lot of teams just running the sacrifice bunt. It's literally a sacrifice bunt followed by a sacrifice fly. If I'm a team right now and like whenever the spring training starts, everybody's getting their sack bunts down and everybody's getting their sack flies down. Because if a game goes in extra innings, you need one of each, and guess what? You score. You may win the game if you're in the bottom of the inning. But what I do wonder is, and I didn't read on it, is how is that runner elected? How do we know who is going to be on second base?
Ooh. I would assume it would be the last out.
Okay, it's like a little league rule.
Mm-hmm.
I think that okay, that would make sense
Would make the most
with the
sense.
with the potential to sub out, but he's out for the game,
Mm-hmm.
like a pinch runner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically pinch runner. So
I like that.
there is. Oh yeah, I don't know if we touched on this last week, but the major league rosters are going to start off. They have a 60-man pool. Every team's announcing their 60-man pool. There's the 40-man. There's a bunch of normal guys going into spring training, and then each team has about like 10 to 11 guys on their training roster in a specific location that's I think close to where the actual team plays. Like the Cubs, they have their main roster. They're going to practice at Wrigley Field. They're going to train there. And then they have like a smaller camp of like 11 players. They're going to be training at the South Bend uh,
Okay.
facilities. So I think each team will have somewhere close to that. And then to start off the year, each team's going to start off with, I think, 30 people on the roster. And then it's going to trickle down to 28 at some point, and then it'll get down to the 26, maybe halfway through.
Okay, so they do plan on actually narrowing down the roster as they go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that makes sense until you get closer to the playoffs for that playoff roster. Um, I think that's interesting. I think that's good. I think the biggest thing is we've been seeing is how are they gonna, keep these guys. It's not the same as keeping everybody at Disney.
Yeah.
These guys and I rumor is there may be fans allowed at a capacity for some of these stadiums, some depending on the state that they're in. These guys obviously want some money. I may want to go to a Cubs Sox game. I don't know. I
Yeah.
might, I might end up picking you up, Healy. We might end up going to a Cubs
Mm-hmm.
Sox game
Yeah, if it's allowed,
if it's
which
allowed.
which we'll have to see. And I think going back to like the extra inning type game where they're starting off with 30 men on the roster. I think that's a strategy again to prevent people from coming in and out of the whole situation. Kind of
Yeah.
contain COVID in a sense. to prevent it from spreading. And as the season goes on, people will be more prepared. They'd be quarantined a little bit better to be able to like narrow down the roster and have guys slotted or be
Yeah.
sent
And
down.
I think, yeah, and that's going to be the biggest factor too is do that makes sense. The biggest thing is keeping these guys comfortable, not just healthy, but keep them comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
As a player, it's already questionable that you're having the season. So I think with their plan, they should be able to manage. And I know there's a lot of players all over the leagues testing positive right now, and it's a handful. It's not. I don't want to say it's a high percentage, but it's gotta stay low, and especially with the season starting very very soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
So
will begin in 3 to 4 weeks. Tomorrow's July 1st. Yeah, pretty much three weeks from 2 days on Thursday. 3 weeks from
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yep.
I'm excited. I know you're excited. And another sport that's going to be starting up, the NBA. They put out a schedule, and it's pretty interesting. I don't know exactly how the format is for the games, but you mentioned to me beforehand the Pelicans have the easiest strength of schedule.
Yeah. It's almost like they want the Pelicans to face the Lakers in the first round, and I am here for it. That Pelicans team is not just on paper. We've seen every single one of these guys succeed at a high level from Brandon Ingram having a turnaround year this year to uh, obviously Zion Williamson. I think that's the biggest matchup that everybody wants to see is Thor versus the King. They want to see Zion versus LeBron. Um, did they make the scheduling that way on purpose for better ratings? I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? The Grizzlies and Ja Morant are not backing down. They're
No.
not backing down. Do I think that they have a team to do it? Um, I don't think their team's that great, but I love the duo of Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson. They are the future of the league. They will get this team to the playoffs as a high seed,
Yeah.
not now, in a few years, but exciting nonetheless. I think the Pelicans can pull it off with the schedule.
Yeah. How sick would it be to have that like 3 game mini series between the Grizzlies and Pelicans before they face the Lakers? Because you remember the 8, 9 seeds, if the 9 seeds within like how many games, 5.
I think it's within 5 games.
That's a lot of games, but yeah, within 5. And like I said, I don't know how the schedule works, but maybe the Pelicans have like the worst strength of schedule because they probably put the final 6 teams or whatever against each other, and they're just the highest of like those bottoms.
That's
I,
probably what it is. Yeah. I actually haven't looked. I haven't looked at the entire schedule. I only looked at the few key matchups like the start. Like I think one of the first games is Lakers Clippers. Like that's
yes,
that's kicking off the return. I'm excited for that. Sports right now returning, especially the NBA. The NBA running this, what is it, 8 games before the playoffs.
yeah,
It's a playoff vibe. It's gonna have a playoff vibe. It's gonna be intense. Kawhi Leonard doesn't back down. He goes, if he's in the game, he's giving his all. LeBron wants that 1 seed. So we're gonna get playoff matchups to begin. These guys are gonna play like it's the playoffs. And it's gonna paint a picture for what we're gonna see.
mm-hmm,
It's gonna paint a big picture. And obviously there's some teams that are opting, or some players opting out of the restart. More primarily recently, we just heard about DeAndre Jordan, Spencer Dinwiddie, on the Brooklyn Nets. They tested positive for Corona. They said they're not going to risk it. I don't blame them. The Nets aren't going to do anything anyways. They don't have KD. They don't have Kyrie. Next year, they will be a team. They're going to be great. Right now, forcing this 8 game schedule and into the playoffs just isn't. It's not. They'll make the playoffs, but it's just not worth it.
mm-hmm,
Um, there's been some other players that we talked about obviously already, like Trevor Ariza and some other players. So those are usually. I don't think there's anybody. Well, Avery Bradley on the
Oh
Lakers.
yeah, for
Avery
family
Bradley
reasons.
for family reasons. I don't blame any player that's opting out. I'm a spoiled sports fan, and I haven't had sports in a while, and I want it all. But I do understand the reasoning behind any reason that they don't
Hmm.
want to play, especially with the world going through a pandemic and whatnot. Avery Bradley not playing for the Lakers does take a hit because he's been in the league for a few years. He's talent. I would say he's pretty talented. He's been, he came up through the Celtics system. He complements that Lakers team,
One of their
but
best defenders.
he's a great defender. Great defender. But in exchange, they are working a deal with JR, Mr. Swish Smith. He is probably going to sign a deal to play for this year with the Lakers. So he's going to team back up with LeBron. I didn't know
Hmm.
LeBron would ever in a million years would want to team back up with him after what we saw in the finals a few years back.
Oh man.
After what we saw in the finals a few years back. But he's a baller. He loves to go out and play. He likes to shoot. Um, he's actually adding a huge threat to these teams. I mean, it's not Avery Bradley on offense isn't really that great. He's
Hmm.
better on the defensive side.
Yeah.
So the Lakers already being one of the best defensive teams in the league, considering they have Anthony Davis, LeBron's defense has gotten a little bit better as he's getting older.
Yeah.
Um, it's okay to give up Avery Bradley, I would say, for the amount that their offense is producing and what their defense is already doing. I would say it's okay. And
Yeah.
they're getting a 3-point threat. So,
Yeah. They get a 3-point guy in which I think they didn't really have a good 3-point shooting this year. They're more of a drive and score, and they were starting guys like Rajon Rondo, and Anthony
yeah.
Davis could shoot the
And
three a little bit. JaVale McGee, not really. You have Kyle
LeBron,
Kuzma, who's
I think
okay.
LeBron was one of their best 3-point shooters. And that's saying a lot because he's good, but he's never been the best 3-point shooter on his team.
Yeah.
Kyle Kuzma's good.
Oh, they have
Do they
Pope.
still? Yeah, I was gonna say they still have KCP, who he actually is good on defense as well. He's actually really good on defense, and he can shoot the three ball. He's not really a game changer on the offensive side, but yeah, they don't have the best 3-point shooting
I
team.
forgot they had Danny Green
They do have Danny Green.
and
They
Quinn
definitely have
Cook,
Danny Green.
which Quinn Cook didn't
Um,
really play too much, but Danny Green was kind of that guy. With uh Danny Green and J.R. Smith signing, though, they'll have a good 3-point presence. They could put out a good 3-point lineup if they need to start scoring from three.
and these are two big names when it comes to guys getting hot, and you can't shut them down. I was at a game when I was a youngin. J.R. Smith was a Denver Nugget. Melo was still there,
Hmm.
and I went to see the Bulls play them, and it was one of the best games I've ever watched. It was like 140 to like 145 regulation, no OT,
Hmm.
and J.R. Smith put up like 44 points. At one point, he just hit every single three, and then he was back in the day, J.R. Smith, because
Yeah.
I think he came straight out of high school, and
Yeah.
he was like incredible athlete. He was quick. He could shoot. He could drive. He could dunk. And his defense has always been kind of lackluster. Obviously, his game's changed a little bit. He can still dunk. He's not as quick, but like he still shoots the three. Like when he gets hot, I don't want to compare him
Oh
to like
man.
Ray Allen. I don't want to compare anybody to Ray
No.
Allen, but he's that type of streaky player. When Ray Allen gets hot, you don't stop him.
Hmm.
And same thing with J.R. Smith. When he gets hot, the problem is J.R. Smith will keep shooting when he's in a funk. He will keep shooting and try to shoot his way out of the funk. I love it, except for when it comes to the playoff time. LeBron and AD won't stand for that. LeBron and AD should handle the ball. I would say their usage should probably be a combined, no joke, probably like 60%.
Yeah, J.R. Smith, he has a Hall of Fame volume shooter badge. Something that I just saw on Twitter, it got posted. Well, it got posted in the afternoon today, but this would be wild if this happened. But NBA will consider slightly delaying broadcasts in order to censor trash talking. Well, it sounded bad at first because the original tweet I saw was that they're going to tape delay it. And I was like, really? They're going to delay it a day just for trash talking? But after reading this tweet, it seems like maybe a couple minutes. So like if you're
Yeah.
following it on like NBA.com, you might catch it before, or maybe a reporter might put out something. But slightly delaying isn't as bad as my original thinking of them actually delaying it a while due to the swearing.
So basically, every time Melo goes for a rebound.
Yeah. Thanks, Mello.
Thanks, Melo. That's hilarious. That's that, and I always wondered too, like, what are they gonna do? There's no crowd. Where's the crowd noise gonna be? There's talks of pulling some crowd noise from like 2K,
Uh-huh.
and other like game engines. And I think it'd be pretty cool to have these guys. Okay, maybe not mic'd up. Mic'd up is a little out there, but like I've sat close up at Bulls games, and the trash talk is real. As a fan, like some of the stuff they say, and they're always swearing, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like, how many times do we watch a live game on ESPN and someone has the right tone? They're loud enough because the crowd's quiet. It's the second quarter. No, it's not a big game, and someone's dropping the F bomb. They don't block it out.
Yeah. Well, there's mics on the hoop.
The
So
hoop,
like if
yeah,
someone's close enough underneath, you hear it.
like Mellow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think I guess if they want to do it, that's fine, because you are going to hear these guys probably 85% of the time.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be a lot of that and a lot of shoe squeaking. That might
Mm-hmm.
get annoying, but it is what it is. I'll take it. So, you know what? I'm just excited to be able to wake up knowing their sports, knowing I can create a FanDuel lineup, which that's going to be another segment coming back.
Oh, yes.
Another segment coming back. And you know, maybe for football, if anybody's interested, if any fans out there, any listeners, maybe we could do like a standing room only fantasy league.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
could
that'd
do
be cool.
something. We can get like 12 guys, so you and I, 10 other people, do an online draft, and maybe we can speak on our fantasy teams, beginning of the
Yeah.
season and what'll happen at the end of the season.
Yeah, I'd be down doing that.
But I think that's going to do it for the NBA as well. Besides, a few players testing positive for COVID, some players backing out, season starting. As Healy said, tomorrow is the 1st of July. You know what that means. It's the weekend of the 4th. Summers are getting hot. Rent's due. So we're only a couple weeks away from the world being somewhat normal. When I say somewhat, I mean like 10% normal,
Yeah.
because obviously COVID numbers are still on the rise, or were on the rise recently. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for all sports. Just want to thank everybody for tuning back in. If it's your first time tuning in, thank you. Welcome. I'm Goose. I'm always here with Healy. Yeah, make sure you're following us on our social media, SR Only Pod. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and most importantly, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Standing Room Only Podcast. Make sure you hit the like button. The download button is the most important. You subscribe to our YouTube. YouTube, we are currently, if you watch us, we are currently not together. So we are using a third-party platform to record and post. One day soon, we will be back together and even better than before. But yeah, guys, make sure you go ahead and tune in, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, have a good one.